Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to the final front load, another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, to elaborate a little more from the beginning of the last video, and then to the disclaimers. Okay. Still angry, by the way. Still very angry. But as always, my logic rules over my emotions. Thank, thank God for that, right? I was one of those kids from the 90s that railed against PC culture, railed against just buying whatever the media is selling. The culture that wanted to censor everything. That being said, I understand with how Yahoo, how YouTube is in regards to sponsors, and if I ever want to get monetized, I gotta curb back a little bit. I get that. And maybe I'm out of line. To be honest, I don't care. I have always been honest that I am rude, crude, and genuinely socially unacceptable. In my teenage years was when I made the decision to no longer try to be what other people wanted me to be. And I've stuck to it thus far. I'm going to continue to. There's got to be a happy medium where I'm not forced to mask and pretend to be somebody that I'm not, while you not getting offending about everything and are actually able to pay attention to the information that I'm giving you. Gotta be a happy medium somewhere. All right, let's try to find that. In the description box, folks, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they've threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill, folks. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. We also have NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually has the cojones to see through their threat. We also have linked in there the Ozark's first article in regards to the Agape boarding school / now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that has and pending, folks, over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the evidence gathered by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following. Trigger warning, this is going to mention some very messed up stuff, okay? Messed up stuff. Sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another, a doctor who's still on the premises, up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too obsessed with I can't even think. Drag queens to, care about the real proven pedophiles out there. And we also have a governor off his nuts. So please read that article, share it on all your social media. You are also going to find the rest of the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? Now, I did say I was going to tone back the cursing. Also stated, still going to be there. So now this disclaimer. This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity, and we do speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger, they're watching this. Very obviously, parental supervision is advised. Trigger warning. We are about to once again descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear gaslighting, victim blaming, abuse and a torture apologencia, pseudoscience, lie after lie after lie, and all of it coming from an individual with a massive ego and even larger God complex. So, folks, just be prepared for the stupid, all right? Now, if you were watching the other video, we are going through what I like to call shock and awe tactics, where Dr. Matthew Israel will draw one situation out of the thousands, paint it as worse as humanly possible, as a means and a way to shock you into thinking that we're all just completely out of our gourd and out of control, so that you should approve any means and method, no matter how unethical, in order to stop the behaviors. Seems benign on the surface, but it's not. People use it as justifications for abuse all the time. And I do mean all the time. It's othering us, so that whatever atrocities are committed against us to, get us under control, can be largely socially accepted. Yeah, it doesn't work like that, though, in the real world, does it? No, it doesn't. Because once again, I will bring up the fact that if this device is so wonderful at stopping these violent proclivities, if you will, then why is it not being used right now, again, on the most violent repeat offenders? Because if it was as successful as Dr. Matthew Israel claims, it'd be used in prisons right now. You have a prison industry that dehumanizes all kinds of people. You have to think this industry, which is known to allow abuse and horrific things to go on, if even they are looking at a device like this and they think it's too cruel to use, you should think about that, shouldn't you? All right, let's get to it. In GM's case, it was decided that even one instance of further self-abuse was too many. To minimize occurrences of the behavior, GM was given a course of preventative treatment over a period of approximately 10 months. JRC called this treatment behavioral rehearsal lessons. In each lesson, GM was required to engage in the beginning phase of one of the self-abusive tactics which he had previously engaged. Here we go again, folks. This is just bad psychology. To give you an equivalent of how bad this is, let's say instead of this person being autistic, they're someone with post-traumatic stress disorder. One thing that I have noted in regards to people with PTSD, particularly soldiers Sometimes the PTSD can involve self-abuse. Now, if a behavioral rehearsal lesson is used with someone with PTSD, if you deliberately trigger a PTSD episode and it became known to the wider public, what do you think would happen? There would be massive, folks, massive outrage all around the world, and rightfully so. You are deliberately triggering someone for a reaction, and then you punish them for it. If it sounds psychotic to you, that's because it is. What kind of therapy am I supposed to be getting out of this? But then you're triggered, and then we punish you for it, and we teach you how to properly behave. You're not getting it. Not for the person with PTSD or for the autistic. You're really not getting it. What part of we are not in control is so hard to understand? You can so-called program us to a point. To a point. That point ends in meltdown. Okay? I cannot state this enough. When we are in that state, no amount of preconditioning is going to change the outcome. But we have to teach you that's not the way to react. We know it's not the way to react. Okay? Do you know how many meltdowns I barely managed to hold down? Do you want to know the physical as well as the psychological toll it took on me because I was doing that? I can't even begin to tell you the cost. Okay? It is not good for your mental health to hold those in the way that I did until it became so big I couldn't hold it down anymore. And when I snapped, there was really no stopping it. You're teaching us to throw these things behind closed doors, not teaching us how to confront these things in a healthy manner. That's number one. Number two, why are you deliberately triggering us? If these occurrences are rare, as you've mentioned, very obviously, we already know these are not acceptable behaviors to the majority of society. We're not idiots. We get this. We understand this concept. It's why so many of us did what I did. Hold down and hold down and hold down until there is no holding down anymore. You see what I'm saying? It's very similar to neurotypicals who snap, who hold down and hold down and hold down. It's not healthy, folks. It's not healthy. Particularly when you hold these things down and you do not teach us how to problem solve by analyzing and targeting the problem and then provide solutions. See what I'm saying? But let's continue, shall we? At first, GM was given 4 such lessons a day, separated by 3 or 4 hours. And this, folks, having a staff member come out and attack this kid every 3 to 4 hours. But it's appropriate education, and they can totally concentrate on their schoolwork. After a few months, JRC made contracts with him that enabled him to reduce the number down to 3 per day if he avoided any problem behaviors. Again, this is what I'm talking about. You have an entire thing, an industry built on dealing with nothing but behaviors. There's a problem. There's a big problem. There's a big elephant in the room here. Nobody cares what's causing the problems. And as long as you continue to not care about what the root issue is, the longer the problem goes undealt with, which means we'll explode. And coming from somebody who has exploded, it's not pretty. Okay? How can I get this through your folks' heads? Medical model. You can't just focus on the behavior. And then teach us, but this is your proper way to behave. Because what part of animal brain is difficult for you to comprehend? That's meltdown. It is animal brain. You have deliberately triggered my fight or flight response, and due to years of back drama that I've pushed down and never dealt with because you want me to be normal, it's ugly. It's very ugly. You cannot just sit there and continue to ignore the problem and only treat the symptoms. Okay? It's not how real medicine works. The number was then reduced to 2, then 1, then after 10 months we dropped the lessons entirely. I wonder what kind of psychological damage you caused to that young man. But the behavior stopped. Isn't that good? It means they learn. It means now they're better. No, it doesn't. Because all you've taught us to do is exactly what I'm talking about. Compartmentalize. Put all that crap in the back of our head, leave it there, never deal with the root cause. Hold down those emotions. And then one of two things generally happens. And this is from observations from my own life, my own experiences with this. One of two things happen. There is a toll when you hold that much stress and that much emotion back and leave it undealt with. It can cause major health problems. Let me give you an example. I've done that sort of thing for years on end. Just left it there. Did not allow myself to react in any capacity in case it might lead to a meltdown. I was successful for a good long while by doing this. At least Dr. Matthew Israel's version of successful. But eventually, all that stress, all of that trauma, it comes to a head. And when you hold it down that hard, there are physical as well as like the psychological repercussions. My nerves are shot. When I feel any kind of emotion these days, very strongly, either it's anger or sadness or even joy, I will begin to uncontrollably shake my whole body to the point where it's difficult to grasp and hold on to things. It takes CBD oil in an extreme high dosage of kava tea in several hours with breathing exercises, with no distractions, no TV, no sounds, no nothing to bring me out of those shaking episodes. Okay? When I'm in those shaking episodes, it's not just the shaking, my nerves being shot, that are affected. I also have a condition that I inherited from my mother, in which case my heart will beat way too fast. And if not handled and continued to allow to escalate, it can lead to cardiac arrest. The shaking and the heart issues, folks. Shaking and the heart issues. That's number one. Number two, there's the psychological trauma. What do we know from therapy, folks? That it is not good to not confront and deal with issues, right? Most of us autistics are carrying an enormous amount of baggage. Huge amounts of baggage. When we hold on it and hold on it and hold on it and push it back and push it back and push it back, and hear me on this, push it back, eventually there's going to be that one situation that breaks the camel's back. And then all that stuff that you've been holding on and pushing back and pushing back and pushing back basically explodes at once. To say there is property damage is just one of the biggest understatements I could give you. Okay? It's not successful just because I can hold it back for years, because when it explodes, and it will, it's not pretty, folks. It's not a good thing to teach us to hide, withdraw, remove, compartmentalize, and never confront the root issues. There are repercussions. That's what he doesn't understand. It's what many in the medical model don't understand. There is a toll. There's a price. My question is, why should I have to be the one to pay that price when I'm not forcing myself to do this? We're going to go ahead and close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit those comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye, everyone.